here's more of on our programs that we're doing, and that's for, if y'all want to hand those out for water distribution, more information on it, where they come to. Now, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Very good. Give one of these to Sean. You have one also. All right, I don't think there's anyone else that we have. Anyone else would like to speak? Okay. If not, we move to the discussion of concerns and possible action. If you'll notice, Commissioners, we have a new cruiser for the Sheriff's Office, totaling the cost of $32,376.98. This was requested by the Sheriff. I think my indication was that we've had some trouble with a couple of our vehicles. I think the 2005 and the 2007 model, I believe.
Yes, sir.
If I'm correct, that we've had some trouble with, and with I think we're going to have another deputy that's going to be coming into the ranks of the Sheriff's Office. But we do have the money for this in the equipment and repair line on it.
Motion to go ahead.
I'll second, I just buy it through the state bid process.
Yes, sir.
Is there any questions? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That being unanimous, the motion carries. Let's move to the West Virginia Extension Service and Personnel Policy. Last year, whenever we were discussing our personnel policies, I sent our personnel policies to WVU, the Extension Service. If you remember, the Human Resources lady, I can't be saying, trying to think of her name, Kim Suda, that's her name. She said that she would go through our personnel policies and try to update our policies. In your package, you'll see that you have the policies and her recommendations. I wanted to give those to you all so that you all can look at them. And hopefully in the future, after you review the policies, if you see something that we probably need to take away, maybe something that we need to add, then feel free to do that. And I'd like to, maybe in the future, send those to the prosecuting attorney for him to look at them and to see where we need to go to update our policies. Okay, but I don't think there's any action that we need to take. We'll go to unfinished business. It seems like we have any unfinished business or possible action. Let's go to new business. Gentlemen, have you seen the new business? Is there anything that you all would like to discuss under our new business?
I guess I just wanted to, under our previous president, we had this adoption of contributions for $1,000. And I just thought maybe we should talk about that. How's that going to look down the road under your leadership? Are we going to have variances?
Well, that's one of the things that what I was looking at, and that was one of the things I talked to Mary about whenever we were looking at some of these contributions. And I think whenever the contribution policy was written, one of the things that we did discuss last year was when we have teams that are in Lincoln County, I guess that where the whole county was basically participating, where we had a big participation. We didn't necessarily, if I remember correctly, and you all correct me if I'm wrong, I think that was one of the things that we said that we might be able to, I guess, lean more, I guess, as far as a contribution is concerned. We didn't have anything specific, like any cap. I didn't write any cap into the policy on that. So, you know, and that's one of the things that we can talk about. One of the things that Doc Vance mentioned last year was that the contribution policy was kind of a work in progress. So if there's anything that we can, if we want to change any of our policies, we can. But as far as I see, I don't have a problem knowing that we set aside $120,000 at the beginning of the year for contributions. If we would approve every contribution that's on this form to the amount that's stated, we still have $20,000 left. So that's basically, we spent, I'd say, a little shy under $100,000.
And I agree with where you're headed with that, and I don't have a problem, I just want to make sure I understand. I'm glad we got the money, and I've always felt like if we can help our young people, that's what we should do. So I don't have a problem with the amounts as long as we treat everybody fairly. If other other sports groups come and they see this flag here, 30,000, which our girls certainly need, then we should evaluate, I guess, individually, what can be done for baseball and other programs.
Just to
soccer.
speak on the $30,000, that, and Coach Hoover's here, he could actually speak on that as well if you want. But the sum there, that was, he received $30,000, and if you, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, I think in 2012, did you come before the commission?
Yes, sir.
Could you elaborate on that?
Back in 2012, I actually had some discussions, or started discussions with Mr. McCann, and we had actually talked about approaching some of our businesses, particularly coal companies in the county. But hardships fell on coal companies about that time, and I believe he even spoke to a few of the coal companies or approached them. But with the cutbacks that they were having, that wasn't possible. So kind of the next step was to contact different delegates in our area, and I worked with Mr. Stowers, Josh Stowers, and he was able to get us 3 different grants through the legislature of $10,000 each. 2 of those were in 2012, and then the last one was in 2013. So the commission also awarded us $5,000 back in 2012 when we originally approached them with the project. So we have received $30,000 from legislature for that project. And the approach we took with different talking with Delegate Stowers and the other people was if we can get funds from there, it makes it easier for county commissions or other organizations to match funds. And that was our hope, was to go out and get what money we could with the hope of matching funds from county commission or any other organization that's willing to help us. So that's where we're coming with that, was Mr. Stowers worked hard to get us money from the legislature and we have hopes of being able to complete this project this year.
See, I was under the impression, whenever I spoke with you, as far as the communication, back in 2012, I wasn't on the commission, but that there was some talk about, matching funds and different things like that. And without me even knowing that, I actually, whenever I was doing the contribution policy, and and I had spoke with you whenever you were talking about different things, I actually worked that into the policy. I think it was actually your idea to begin with, but I actually worked it into the policy because I thought it was a pretty good idea. So it wouldn't tie our hands if there was something that a delegate was doing or whatever that we could possibly do. We could possibly do that.
Right.
Not bound to do that. I mean, we don't have to approve anything on these forms. I mean, we're not necessarily bound by that, but it would give us the option. Just as if whenever I drafted the policies, that we try to be fair between our districts. And with that being said, I think that, you know, when we were talking about our contribution policies, is that if maybe there was, you know, and maybe in District 3, there was more than $20,000 that was requested, maybe there wasn't, you know, there was only maybe $5,000 in District 2, that if we had money at the end, that we would, you know, consider maybe approving contributions in other districts, you know, and I didn't think, you know, of course, I don't have a problem with that. But it's entirely up to the body. And I would like to see maybe this coming year, maybe we should probably maybe draft some type of cap on contributions for our, you know, maybe county teams. You know, where we have, because we're going to have county teams, I guess, without, you know, as far as we have one high school. But I was talking about, you know, where we have maybe the Duval area would have a team, Guyan Valley would have a team, Parks would have a team, but whenever we have, you know, just like soccer, there's over 300.
381.
Yeah, there's almost 400 kids that play there, as opposed to with maybe the Duval Raiders, there's probably maybe 100. And I think that was something that we talked about last year, trying to take that into account. But it's completely, it's up to the commission as of what you all would like to do.
Well, when I first saw the agenda, I saw these numbers on it, and I knew that basically I didn't have a history that I could relate to about it, because I didn't remember. And as you all know, I always try to say, you know, I don't like people out promising things that they can't come through with and things of that nature, and I couldn't remember that it was ever in the minutes or anything like that. But having talked with KK about the way this evolved and things of that nature, and the other thing I look at too is the number of kids, like the $4,500 for the youth soccer league. You know, if you look at 300 and some kids benefiting from that, that's a pretty good investment, I think. My concern was whether we needed AstroTurf and things of that nature. You know, which I don't. When I played ball, we played with the rocks and everything else in front of us and things of that nature.
We've made it
and that's probably why we do medicine. But, you know, I think when you look at these things, as Mr. McCann said, and I do think we need to fine tune this policy a little bit so we can accommodate county-wide programs versus different areas and things of that nature. Because when we look at, you know, how can we, I think we all three up here want to do what's best for these kids, and we want to spend, but we want to spend your all's money as best as we can to get the best bang for the buck for these kids. And sometimes we look at it, and we all have different priorities as far as what we think is, you know, as far as which is best, physical activity and things like that. I look at it from that end and things of that nature. But I think we do need to look at the policy and adopt, you know, changes that would allow us to work within the flexibility of a particular number system, that you know that you couldn't get $30,000 for AstroTurf, you know, so you wouldn't have to worry about doing that as far as looking for match events. The other thing of it is I talked with President Matthews about is I really wanted these programs to come up just like we're doing them. The people, they request the monies and things of that nature. We have, I didn't know the dates that you'd receive the money from the delegates and things like that. So none of that was available to me when I first looked at this. But as long as we have those things and know those things, then I think we can make a better informed decision about what to do about it. So I don't have the, you know, I first told both commissioners that I'd have to really look at this table and look at it. But the information's gotten to me in the meantime that I feel a lot better about it. And I know, but you know, and I tell everybody when they come to get money from us is that, you know, none of us can promise you anything. You know,
It never was.
I didn't want Delegate Stowers to promise you anything that, as far as our monies versus his monies and things like that, because it gets real hard when you're in these situations, because you want to give all that you can to make it best for everybody, but you know we only got a finite amount of money, and once, Commissioner, President Matthews assured me that we have a buffer still left on things that might come up in the spring, because, you know, we don't always know what's gonna happen, and we might have to put monies in, things to make sure the program can continue and things of that nature. But he's assured me that it has, so I don't have a problem with that, but I just didn't want, I really wanted to make sure that when I looked at something I was voting, especially if it varied from the cap and things like that we had a good reason to do that, and I think in both these situations, it could be argued that there's good reasons for doing
Well,
that.
there was no promises made on anybody's account, whether it's from Mr. Stowers or Mr. McCann or anybody. I was just kind of put in the direction that it's possible if you go this route. So that's the route we went.
Well,
I mean, even back in 2012.
And I understand that, and, you know, basically the way I was approached by it was that, if you guys come up with a 30,000, we come up with a 30,000. I didn't remember anything along that line. And, but that's the way when it was first presented, it was presented to me. And that's the reason I always want to say that, you know, make sure that, we do what we're doing in the same way all the time, you know, and I made the same statement when we give the $15,000 for the scoreboard, you know, was that, you know, I like to make sure that, we look at these things with a priority, because if you coach softball, you're gonna want things for softball, and people are gonna want things for football and basketball, and those are their priorities. And we have to set up here and also have priorities. So, you know, and it makes it a lot easier when we've got good reasons to do things, and I think in these cases we do.
I just did everything on my end that I could do to present, you know, that we're out working for this and wanting this, and to put it in your hands to make it possible. But, you know, with the hopes of that it could, not with a promise.
Well, we appreciate the work you've done, and I think that, but like I said, you know, when I first looked at it, I didn't know how much money you guys had received, when you received it, who got it for you know, what the circumstances were. And I think that if we're gonna make decisions on how to spend the commission's money, you know, we wanna know all those things.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's the only concern I had at the time. But, you know, I don't see a problem with it now, because I think it's been explained to the point to where we know where the money's going to be used for. We know where your money's come from, when you got those, and that you need this to proceed. So,
Yes, sir.
but you know, I would hope, and I think we do as a commission. I think we look at all these things that way, you know, and we want to make sure that we have all the information on all of them, especially the ones that you know, have this much money. And I have to tell you know, person on 6 Mile, we're going to put AstroTurf in instead of putting a mile more water up 6 Mile, you know, and things like that. I've got to be able to rationalize that in my mind, plus be able to tell them about it. So that's really where I come from on everything. That's all I have.
You all have actually looked through everything.
We need to, on the Jerry McAllister, you wanna, the estate of Glenda McAllister's, $1,000 bond, that's typically,
That's on page 4.
page 4, yeah, third one down,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to do that.
okay.
What was it?
It's
For
just
$1,000?
Jerry McAllister,
Right.
executive, Linda McAllister, stay with $1,000.
Okay, let's put that in there and we can approve it all at once.
We want to, okay, yeah, we can just do
No,
that.
just-
It's just-
Wait, and one more second, go 2 more down,
2 more down.
yeah, the,
Here is the community participation grant program for the Parks and Recreation with a $1,000 match from the commission.
Evelyn, when she filled the application out, she put that, so I just put that on there for you all to see, not necessarily that you
Appreciate
have to approve.
Right.
Well, that's really something you want to do though, because if you're going to obligate and, you know, possibly obligate our monies in the future for that,
That's right.
we need to know that too, so that was fine.
Okay.
Okay. So you all have the new business?
I'll motion to accept the new business.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That being unanimous, motion carried. And I believe